Less than a week ago, we unfortunately lost our guest speaker, which sent us, your 2017 class officers, into a slight panic mode. Luckily for us, our speaker today graciously filled in for us at the last minute. As a New York Times best-selling author, one could say we hit the jackpot. It is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker this year, Tom Farley.
Awesome. There we go. Dear Twitter, I'm in a room full of people wearing very funny hats. Oh, sorry. All right, I'm only supposed to speak here for 45 minutes, so actually Maeve said 15 minutes. Silly Maeve. You gave a microphone to a Farley with an audience. This is not... all right, so let me tell you a story. Back in 1996, you guys weren't even around. 1996, I was a cocky Georgetown grad living and working in New York, working on Wall Street. I thought I was, just the king of the world. I wore a suit and tie to work every day. Kid came around periodically right to your desk and shined your shoes, and it went to your head, and it was pretty fun, at least until my younger brother rolled into town and started working on Saturday Night Live, and but I still, it was still Christopher. Still was just a knucklehead younger brother. I was still the king of New York. So I get a call one day, and it's Chris. He had just finished his stint at Saturday Night Live, and started working on movies out in L.A. So he rolled into New York, and he gives me a call and said, Tommy, I'm in town. Let's have dinner. I said, great. I said, where are you? He said, I'm just down the street, staying at the Waldorf. So after work, I walked down Park Avenue, still feeling like the master of the universe, and walked in Christopher's suite. He's got a nice big suite, and there's another guy in there. He goes, Tommy, just give us a second. We're talking about a movie. Just kind of hang out. We'll get to dinner in a second. So I said, all right. So I sit down and started looking through a magazine. I kind of look up, and every couple of minutes, and Chris and this other guy are just kind of looking at me. I'm like, that's kind of weird. So I just kind of mind my own business. A couple more times I look up, and they're still kind of eyeballing me. And I ignored it again. I just started reflecting on, what happened. Chris was just this, knucklehead. I was like always, toeing the line, always meeting expectations, and Chris was stumbling over that line and making friends. And life with Chris was crazy. And he was always pushing my buttons. Man, he annoyed me. We were altar boys growing up, and we were saying, it was a big Easter Mass. It was at St. Raphael's. Not there anymore, burnt down. And we're big, the bishop's there, a bunch of priests. And back in the day, during Catholic Mass, there was a point where we had to ring a bell. And, of course, Christopher and I, with, the severe ADD that we had, were, kind of looking around the place, totally lost track of the Mass. And in the middle of it, I hear this, Tommy, Tommy. I go, oh. I start ringing the bell like madly, and every priest looking at me like, what are you doing? A good 5-minute jump. I was, way ahead of the time. And all I hear next to me is, got me. And he would do that, could you imagine sharing a bedroom with this guy? Chris Farley? I mean, back then he was still Chris. And I was a senior, he was a sophomore, and that was just tragic. The times I did muster talking to a girl in the hallway, it never failed. I would see, coming around the corner, there's JoJo the clown boy coming toward me. I'm like, and he never failed to disappoint. He'd walk by me, hey, Tommy, you wet the bed again last night. Mom's gonna be really mad. It's like, really? Really? That's what I had to deal with. I had to drive Chris to school every day, and I drove a neighbor friend of ours who I kind of liked, and was too afraid to ask her out. But she'd be in the front seat, very quiet little girl, and himself in the back. Every week, never failed. Huge fart from the back seat, followed by, "Oh, Susie." And Susie would be like, "That wasn't me." And I'm looking in the rearview mirror. It's like, dude, you better run when this car stops. I'm going to kill you. I mean, that just went on and on and on, you know. So, you know, and my friends would laugh at him. I'm like, don't laugh at him. He's a jerk. Stop laughing at him. My little brother. So, yeah, it was tough. He was always pushing my buttons. So, anyway, I'm back in this hotel room. And after, you know, it's just kind of dazing off, reflecting on all this stuff, and I kind of look up, and Chris and this guy are still looking at me. I'm like, well, wait a minute, what's going on here? Chris starts laughing. He goes, he goes, Tommy, I'm sorry, I'm doing this movie. I'm playing this knucklehead, obviously, younger brother of this guy that is this politician that's running for the governor of the state of Washington. Ended up being the movie Black Sheep. And this producer came in today and said, we got a little problem with casting. Chris goes, what do you mean? It's like, well, we're having a real tough time figuring out what the serious, uptight older brother of you would look like. And that's when Chris said, oh, I'll have him over here in 5 minutes. That's when he called me to have dinner. That was life with Chris. It took me years to kind of get over that, get over myself too. But I wrote, as Maeve said, I wrote a New York Times best-selling book. I don't like to talk about that, but yeah, I wrote the book, a biography of Chris, and I collected stories from all his friends, from growing up in Madison to his college time at Marquette and down in Chicago, starting his career, and then New York people at SNL and Hollywood people out in LA. And they all kind of had these great stories of this like wonderful kid who had a big heart, cared for people, and was just always there to help and just being himself. I'm like, what? Really? And it really made me kind of realize who Chris really was. And it took me a long time to figure that out. And I came to this realization once, during that experience, and I'm like, here's this kid who was known for all these characters, and yet all he was doing was playing himself. And I was this guy trying to live up to this caricature of what I thought I should be, and I was struggling. And I just realized, Chris was loved, wherever he was, New York, LA, because he never forgot who he was. He was just this kid from Wisconsin. And it made me reflect on who we are, I ended up moving back here to Madison, back home, and really got in touch with my roots. And I realized that that's kind of how we roll. We're really unique. We're not even Midwestern. We're Wisconsin. And it's a really cool thing. Whether you leave here today and go somewhere else or stay right here, keep in touch with that. I mean, it's really cool just to have that comfort level of being comfortable who you are and being who you are. I mean, think about the knuckle. Pick that up. Pick it up. Think about the knuckleheads down in Chicago years ago that wanted to, come up with some derogatory phrase for us here in Wisconsin. They started calling us cheeseheads. And what was our reaction? It's like, all right, we'll wear them on our heads. Whatever. That's who we are. And I realized once I started being comfortable with who I was and my Wisconsin roots, it changed my life dramatically. I was great, and hopefully I'm passing that on to my kids. But that's my message to you guys. Wherever you go from here, don't be like my little brother Chris. No, that's not true. Be like Chris. Be a Wisconsin kid. And wherever you go, people are going to like you for that. You look at some of our sports people. They're just loved wherever team they go to. They're the guy on the team that everyone likes. There's something about us. So be true to that. Be who you are, and enjoy the journey from here. I really appreciate you guys having me here. I'm not as funny as Chris. I'm sorry about that. I told you I was the serious older brother. But anyway, congratulations, class, and That's it. That's it for me. That's all I got to say. Thank you.